Okay, today is October 26th, 2018, and my name is Lloyd Lauber, and we are in Pleasant Hill, Illinois, interviewing a World War II veteran by the name of Lowell McKee. Lowell, you want to tell us your name? Go ahead.
Okay. I'm Lowell McKee, Pleasant Hill, Illinois. Graduated in 1943. I was drafted before I graduated. I was given a reprieve, I think, for 30 days, and then I was Peoria bound. Back then, all this area went to Peoria. From Peoria, we went to Soldier Field, Chicago, and things was kind of spinning around a little bit at that time. And from Soldier Field to Amarillo, Texas. And Amarillo, Texas to Denver, Colorado. From Denver, Colorado to Kingdom, Arizona. And then from Kingdom, Arizona to Columbia, South Carolina. And of course, Columbia, South Carolina was our last overseas training base. And from there, went to New York, boarded the plane. Not the B-25. Now I'm in transit. Okay. Boarded the plane went, and our first fuel stop was Newfoundland. Second fuel stop was Azore Islands, and then from the Azore Islands to Africa. And I forget now what the name of that. But anyway. Then, and we had, and when I say we, I'm talking about the two armies and the British Army that we had come up through Africa. And from Africa to Corsica. Okay, and because there was 3 islands that we wanted first. And those 3 islands was primarily to build airstrips on. Okay, there was Sicily was the first island, and we got to remember now that we're not completely out of Africa. We're just cleaning Africa up, and because I didn't have any combat missions in Africa, but from Africa to the island of Sicily. From the island of Sicily to Sardinia, and then I ended up on the island of Corsica, which Corsica was, it was only about 90 miles off of the western coast of Italy. The same token, it was about 90 miles off of the southern coast of France. And everybody said the Mediterranean Sea, but the island of Corsica wasn't in the Mediterranean Sea. It was in the Tyrrhenian Sea, and which those 3 islands gave, and I'm going to say had control of everything that was happening in Italy. And our primary goal, we flew direct support for our 5th and 7th Armies and the British 8th Army. And then from there, why it was Katie bar the door is all I'm going to say, because it got kind of tough. But anyway, that's about from high school through around. Mm-hmm. That was my journey then.
Okay.
And
Lowell, did you say you were in the Army, right?
the Army Air Corps.
Army Air Corps, okay. And what unit were you in?
I was in the 57th, 57th away, or the, I got it right in there.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We can put that in later.
The and of course now, this is where the 12th Air Force that we have now, of course it's not the Air Force because they changed a lot. That's where the 12th Air Force originated from. And I was in the 57th Airborne, and the 340th, or the 12th Air Force, and that's where the 12th Air Force come in. That's at its first being, from the 12th Air Force to the 340th Bomb Squadron. From the Bomb Squadron to the 486, or the 340th Bomb, the 340th almost a bomb group.
Okay.
And the bomb group had 4 squadrons. And I was in the 486 squadron. And then of course each squadron we had 18 planes, and always we tried to put the 18 planes on these missions. Now we and the missions, or the groups that we flew in, there were 18 plane groups, and the planes that we had, they were stripped, no heating facilities at all, and no oxygen at all in the planes, because we were strictly low altitude flyers, strictly for our 2 armies and the British 8th Army. And as far as I know, 12,000, now we could fly maybe 12,000 feet without oxygen, but then that was it. That was, you were there just for a very, very short time, because, and usually if we flew that altitude, we were probably coming into a target. And then it would drop down to all of our targets was probably anywhere from 7 to maybe 10,000 feet. And by this time, we knew what flak was. It was terrible.
Okay.
The fighters, German fighter pilots, I respected them people. The formation we flew in, if a fighter come in, he was looking at 12 caliber 50 machine guns, where the German fighter planes, there was a Messerschmitt 109,
yes,
and Focke-Wulf 190. That was their 2 top fighter planes. The Messerschmitt, it was capable, and maybe better at this time, than our P-51. We didn't have the P-51. It just come into being when it was coming up through Italy. And there was the German Air Force. The guys had absolutely pilots that you wouldn't actually believe. They respected you, because they didn't want to, they when it come right down to it, they wouldn't face all the guns that they was coming into. And of course, we had escorts too. We had the P-47s, and then when the P-51s came along, well, then we had some P-51 for escorts, and there was a time or two, maybe more than that, that we had the Spitfires. England flew escort for us.
Yes.
And which the Spitfire was England's top fighter plane. You got 3 top fighter planes, or maybe 4 here. The Spitfire, England, Germany, the Focke-Wulf 190, and the Messerschmitt 109, and then our P-47 at that time was our top fighter plane. And all I can say is that.
What did you do on the plane? You were on the B-25, is that correct?
I was a tail gunner.
You were a tail gunner, and tell us what that was like.
A tail gunner on a B-25.
Look at the camera if you can.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
And
you're doing great.
And we another thing, we always our bay, or where we bucked up, it was probably 2 miles from where the airstrip was. And they'd come in, they'd pick us up, take us, of course we'd be briefed on what kind of a mission we were going into. And then we'd pick up our parachutes. And of course I had to wear a chest suit because it didn't have room enough in the tail of that B-25. And I could wear the harness for the chute, but I couldn't wear the chute. And I'd always keep it back right to my left and behind me, in between 2 ribs of the plane. Because that, and to begin with, to get back into the tail gunners, you had to crawl on your belly to get back into the guns. And then you sit on a bicycle seat, your knees on the bottom of the fuselage, and you would kind of, I'll say jammed or wedged, or you can do whatever you think, between 3 sheets of armor plate. Here you are sitting on a little old bicycle seat, and you've got your knee down, and then the guns, the armor plates that you were facing, the little holes in your gun, you'd reach through this armor plate to your gun, because you couldn't, you could load your guns and everything all right. But as far as me seeing the guns continually, didn't do it because of the armor plate. And then on top of the guns, we had electric gun sights. And if you knew what plane was coming at you, whether it was a Messerschmitt or the Focke-Wulf, and then of course again you better know the wingspan and what plane was coming at you. And if you was a tail gunner, you knew every wingspan and whatever was going on around you. And then had an electric gun sight sitting on top of the guns. And if the plane that was coming at you had a 45 width gun sight, then you had a calculator and that you could use, and it would tell you whether that plane was in range or not. And so anyway, that's about the way the tail gunner was.
Did you shoot any planes down yourself?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No. And they was on, and it was an early mission. I don't know what mission it was, but they was one of the Messerschmitt, or the Messerschmitt come in and they had this 3 guns in one side of the plane on the wing, and 3 guns on the other side, and then they also had 27 millimeter cannons, and it was on the right side of the fuselage of the Messerschmitt. And this one guy, he come in, and when he went by, and then the 3 guns on his left wing quit. I don't know whether he'd ran out of ammunition or whether it just wouldn't, but it quit. And the only way you could tell it was is that the smoke was coming out from the guns, from the his wings. And when he come by, I could 2 strings of machine gun bullets, which was from us guys. Now I don't know who, but because after all, you're looking at 6 caliber 50 machine guns looking you right in the face, and 3 guns. His 3 guns on his left wing. It'd be it'd be to my left, but that plane where coming in, it'd be his right wing. They quit, and when he went by, I could see just strings of our machine gun holes in that plane, and then then part of the plane, there was a big hole. Now they're pressurized, and we didn't have a gun that would make a hole like that guy had. And I'm just saying that when our bullets hit him, it let all that air, all of his compressed air out, and that's what blowing the hole out in his fuselage. And I still just think back, and
You got a good memory.
and them guys, they're our enemy, but I still had to respect them people for what they done, and they were people just like we are,
Sure.
you know.
Sure.
And once when this one broke through, it was a kind of a miracle that it broke through, because after all, on the outside of our perimeter, we had our fighter planes as escorts, you know, and so
Wow.
it was. And another thing was, there was never a word. Everything was quiet. The first words that the crew on that plane heard was the pilot, and we're taking off, and we're getting into formation, and then the pilot would say, "Are you okay, Lowell?" "Yes." "Are your guns okay?" "Yes." And that's it. And they'd go to all the gunners with that word, and then it was nothing, absolutely nothing. And I did really remember. I mean. He'd say, and then the next words after we got formation, and we always knew as whether we were high or whether we were low or whether we were coming in on the bomb run or whether we weren't. Because if we were coming and dropped down and leveled out, then you knew you was on your bomb run. Outside of that, you didn't know whether you was on, because they were just more or less seconds. And the next word we had from the time that we got into the pilot said, "Are you okay, Lowell?" This was we checking our guns, and the next words we had was the pilot, "Are you okay?" And he'd go to every gunner, and that's all. It was quiet. That's it. Nothing else. And but I'm getting a little different. But before the pilot would ask you if you was okay, he'd ask the bombardier, and the bombardier would say the doors are closed. And just as soon as the bombardier said the doors are closed, well, then you went into or evasive action. It was just we just roll them over and down to get out of their flak, because that flak was terrible.
Yeah.
And I could tell, and whichever gunner or every tail gunner in them planes, if you could feel, if you had a sudden gush of cold air, you knew that a piece of shrapnel had just missed you. And outside of that, you know, why it was all quiet. Now, and I think it's the closest that I ever came. Well, I don't think I know. To getting hit was, and I don't know which mission it was. When we broke off of that bomb run, was something on my left knee wasn't right. It didn't feel right, and it had been a piece of shrapnel. Now, if you're shooting at a tin can, when that bullet hits that tin can, it flares out. Okay, that's what happened. The shrapnel didn't come. It busted the fuselage, but it didn't have. Then it lost its force. It didn't have enough force to enter my knee. And the next closest time was, and I felt this really gush of cold air, and it was over my shoulder, the right shoulder. And I never could find that hole, but it was freezing me. It actually freezed me out. And what had happened? That piece of shrapnel had come through and landed, and on the B-25, your ammunition, your gun boxes was behind you, and your ammunition coming into your guns was in a flexible unit, and it came over one gun over your one shoulder, one on the. And I kept feeling this on my right shoulder, cold, bad cold. But I never could find that. I never could see the hole. And so when we came in, well, I think it was, and we'd always look over to see how it would been, how we'd survive. And the radio gunner says, and they call me Mac, radio gunner, we was all down, I was probably kissing the ground, because man, I'd get down on my knees and kiss the ground. And the radio gunner said, well, where was that one at, Mac? And what had happened, and that was all the air, the cold air that I was feeling. There had been a piece of shrapnel, and I used to have that shrapnel, and it was just almost the size of your little finger. It had lodged between my ammunition belt right on top of my right shoulder. And
Wow.
those are the two closest that I think, you know.
Wow.
But anyway,
Did you get, how many missions did you fly?
65.
65 missions.
Yeah.
And did you ever get shot down? You never had to bail out, or?
No, we didn't. Never. I'll show you some pictures about that.
Okay.
We had a direct hit on. It was on my 13th mission. We had a direct hit in the right wing. The shell went through the leading edge of the wing, and it exploded before it got out of the end of the wing. And of course now this is. I'm going to be telling you now things that I don't know, because I wasn't completely unconscious, but I didn't know what was happening around me. When we got hit, the plane rolled over and went into a flat spin.
Upside down?
Hmm?
Upside down?
No, a flat spin.
Oh, up, right side up?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're level, but you're
Right.
spin. Oh,
I understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
And thank God that we had the pilot and the co-pilot that I had. The way, and we were going down. The way that they pulled it out of that flat span was they shut the left engine off that wing, and then that put all the power for this one wing. And this was a wing that we got hit bad, and this one engine pulled us.
Back around.
That pulled us, the span out, and by that time we were probably 2,000. We were just right next to crashing, and they had, now this is between the pilot and the co-pilot. I don't know if they're telling me all this, and they had discussed about going to Switzerland and bailing out over Switzerland, because Switzerland was a neutral country. And we had lost so much altitude that we were down between two valleys that we couldn't get high enough, couldn't raise, had no altitude. And where I finally come kind of to what was going on. Now I had got my parachute. And naturally, I'm telling you before, I didn't have room to put the parachute on, but I had crawled out of that tail, still don't know what's happening, reached back and got my parachute, and put my parachute on, and was sitting on the position where I was supposed to be, on the left-hand side of the hatch. And the radio gunner, he was on the other side of the hatch, his hand on the handle, just waiting for the pilot to say, bail out.
Wow.
And that's the closest outside the other little like shrapnel, it was always hold.
Huh.
And that was the closest that I.
So where did you land?
We came back.
So you landed in the valley somewhere?
No, we made it back. We made it back to the base.
Okay.
Yeah, and you would have thought that being that way, and the wing was kinked back into the fuselage, and you would have thought that the pilot or the co-pilot would have thought about seeing if that landing gear worked, but they didn't. They just left. As long as we was in the air, they wasn't going to touch nothing. They were going to leave everything as it was. And so we're crippled, and we're crippled pretty good. We got that, end of that wing almost clear shot off, and I'll show you a picture. But and when we come back, why, and we couldn't gain no altitude, and everything is still quiet. Everything's still quiet on that plane. No nothing. No conversation. There's no music or whatever. It was quiet. And that kind of reflects, it kind of maybe tickles you a little bit, you know. Here you're coming in on the old wing and the prayer, and it was a wing and a prayer, I'll tell you for sure. And good landing. Them guys almost made a perfect landing. And what we would do, we tack. As soon as them landing gear hit the pavement or they hit the strip, we would just taxi right to the end of the runway. And of course our runways they wasn't like this floor. All they'd been done too is took a bulldozer and a motor grader and leveled it up a little bit and then laid down perforated metal mats.
Right. Right.
And that was actually the closest that I think that I come back with a good large piece of shrapnel laying on my shoulder. And actually that, and then when the one hit my left knee.
Wow.
That was the way it was.
Did your plane have a name? Did you have nose art on the plane? Did your plane have a name? I know it was a B-25 Mitchell, but it didn't have any emblem on the nose of it. Did your plane have a name? A lot of times they name it.
I'll show you the picture.
Okay, you got a picture of it then. Okay, we'll put that in our thing here.
It's in there, but we didn't have no writing on the front of our plane like almost all of them.
Yeah.
We had shark's teeth.
Shark's teeth.
Painted on both sides. Yeah.
Well, some of them got pretty wild with the nose. They call that nose art. They got pretty wild with it sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're a very lucky person to come through that. People don't realize what combat is like, especially up in the air.
Oh yeah, there was one time when we had taken off. We had made our formation, and the plane that I was in, we always flew the sixth plane in that formation, or the lead plane. They always flew a 6-plane formation. And this particular time, our right engine started throwing oil. And of course, we had to go back. Had to go back to the base now, and we had just formed our battle formation, and of course another plane came in and taken our place, and what do I want to say now? We had our landing and everything all right, but the plane that taken our place in the formation didn't come back. They got shot down.
Wow.
And so what saved my life? That oil leak in that plane. I'm going to say this because actually, if it hadn't been for that oil leak in that engine, in that motor, we would have been, And
you were a very lucky person, weren't you?
yes, and of course there was another time when I can't think of this, but we was just almost crashed coming back one more time. And actually outside the holes that we picked up, and this is just not the tail, but that's the whole plane. Why, just thank our Lord God Almighty that I was able to come back and kiss that ground again.
So you flew a different plane each time, or they patched the plane and you flew it again?
I had, and of course our planes were numbered.
Yeah.
Had the number was like for the squadron.
Okay.
And I got a picture of that in there.
Okay.
And then the number was the air group. One number was the air group, and then there was another number, which was the squadron that plane was in. And of course, mine was the number in my squadron was 6. And so at this one particular time, we just fortunate is all I can say.
Did you ever meet any of the people that were in the service with when you come home? Did you have reunions and meet them again?
I still keep in contact with one. As far as I know, he's still just like I am. He was a top turret gunner.
Wow.
And Albert King was his name.
Where's he live?
Arizona.
Arizona.
He was in Phoenix, but I don't think he's in Phoenix. So I think he's in a suburb or whatever.
Okay.
But he's the only one that I know of. I got his name in there too. But we keep in send cards to each other, you know. And
when's the last time you saw him?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
We're talking like about 50 years.
More than that. You're talking 75 years.
Yeah, gone by, you know.
So, what are you had some good times too, right? I know you had some bad times. Do you remember some good times in the service?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everybody, even in Vietnam, I had some good times.
Yes.
Yeah.
You make now like Albert. We lived in six man tents.
Six-man tent, okay.
Yeah, and our had beautiful carpets on the. It was dirt. Our carpets they'd throw an old bunk at you, and then they'd set it down out there on the dirt, and then they'd put a makeshift tent over it, and that was your living. that was your living quarters. Yeah. And now I know that, and this is the truth too, that the Army, our old Army, always had it in for, they call us flyboys. They always had it in for the flyboys. But what as far as I was concerned, what they was missing was they'd always call on, they'd get in a bind, they'd call on the Air Force to get them out and to take care of them. And that's exactly what we done.
Yeah.
I flew treetop missions, and I flew missions that was 9, 8, 9, 10,000 high. And
but
made it through.
The plane you flew was not pressurized, so you had to wear, it was cold.
Yeah, no, they stripped it far more fuel and longer mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, the strictest of our air or oxygen.
Yeah.
And
It was cold then, wasn't it? It was cold.
oh yeah, I had to wear and I don't know, I might have a picture of that like that. In there, you had well, you were dressed as much as you could get dressed to try to keep warm.
In that little bitty tiny tail gunner turret.
Oh, I've had my body just froze.
I bet.
I've had
That's
ice, just you know, and
probably one of the coldest parts of the plane is right back there.
yeah,
Wow.
and
So when did you get out of the service? You remember coming home, and did you get a warm welcome when you came home? And
isn't that something? The 23rd day of October in 1945, and we just went by that.
yeah.
Yeah, and there was discharged at Chanute Field, Rantoul.
Yeah, I bet you're here all by yourself, and nobody celebrated that with you, did they?
No,
That's just
you know,
3 days ago.
yeah, you know, and when we and I came back on a boat in a convoy. Of course, it flew over, and we came back on I think there was 9 or 10 ships in that convoy, and came through Pier 91 in New York. And this guy, you know, there was no hooray and there's no nothing. We were glad to get off of that plane. We were glad to get off of that boat, and then of course, it was just, you know, we just do this and do that. And anyway, we got off of the ship, and there was a bunch just waiting there. Took us right straight to the steakhouse.
You deserved it too, didn't you?
Yeah. But and then getting back to knowing who they were, you know, or acquainted we were. If you ever saw, and you was in it, the service too, if you ever saw a bunch of men knit together and stay together.
Teamwork. It was teamwork, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Everybody supported everybody else. If you didn't, you're all going to die.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. I got one major question. Would you do it again?
Yes.
So would I.
Yes. And as far as I'm concerned, now I'm just speaking, like right now, and I know that they wouldn't do it 2/3 of them, maybe more than that, wouldn't it? But I would encourage every young man to have a little sprint in the service. Whether it would be Army, Navy, whatever, to have a little go at it. It makes it makes a man out of you first.
Makes you responsible.
It makes you respect
Yes.
other people, and
Yes.
most of all, thank the Lord.
Yeah.
And
So
then on the 23rd of October in 1945, Chanute Field, I pulled off my army uniform, and I ended up I was the tech sergeant, and the position that I flew in, the tail gunner position, their top rank was a staff sergeant. And I got over there, and just out of the clear blue sky, while our adjutants or whoever takes care of the unit called me in And I kind of, no, what have I done now, you know? Because maybe I maybe just got off of a mission or just getting ready to go a mission, and that they made a tech sergeant out of me right there. Oh boy,
Well, we're pretty proud of you. I can tell you that. I'm very proud of you.
it's
We're both very proud of
and
you.
you know, the guys they I just can't explain how a bunch of men from every category could knit together.
Yeah.
And of course for the same purpose.
Yeah.
And my purpose was to take care of my mom and my dad and
There you go.
and the country.
Yeah.
And oh, you got a few. You've always got a few of this and that. But,
Sure.
But they all had the same reason. And
Let me ask, how many were on the plane at one time when you were flying on those missions?
6.
There were 6 of you.
Mhm.
That was your bomb group.
Mhm.
That was 6 guys. Every mission was 6 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And see, you had the pilot and the co-pilot, and then the bombardier, and the top turret gunner, and the radio gunner, and then the
Tail gunner.
The tail gunner.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that like and some of the B-25s, and I think I probably flew in some of them too. That they had and we strafed with them with the B-25 was actually a strafing plane also, but and we had 2 caliber 50s mounted on the right side of the fuselage, right next to the pilot, and then 2 more 50s on the left side, and then they were also fixed for 27 millimeters, which the pilot article came out of the nose.
Yeah.
And then the bombardier, he had a flexible caliber 50.
He shot out the side of the plane.
Well, the radio gunner. Radio gunner had a flexible gun
Yeah.
on one side and a flexible gun on the other side.
Okay.
The only stationary guns was the top turret gunner and the tail gunner, unless you were in a plane that had the side guns, which the pilot or co-pilot
Okay.
flew, you know. But
Wow. Well, we're going to wrap this up here in a minute. Do you have any lasting comments you want to make about what we just talked about, or your service, or you wrote lots of letters home when you're over there in overseas, or did you get to write any letters home?
all I can say is that it wasn't easy, and again, I think, well, I don't think, no, I'm telling you what I know, because I took my training in a B-17.
Yeah.
At Phoenix, Arizona, and then this is kind of odd too. I'm kind of getting wound, maybe backing up a little bit. That from Kingman, Arizona, that was a air-to-air gunnery school. Okay, and I took my training in a B-17 at that time in the belly turret. The B-17s had a belly turret, and the only reason that put me in the belly turret was I was little guy, you know. Okay, and then from the belly turret, then when I graduated from Kingman, Arizona, to go into overseas training, and the kind of, I'm sure glad it turned out this way, but the Army or the Air Force took by letters to who, because we all went to the same school, what category you were going to go into, and what plane you were going to go, what Air Force you were going into. And so help me Lord, M, the letter and the initial M, all through just through the M went to medium bombers, and from the M on up went to heavy bombers. And here so I lucked out, and I'm going to say lucked out, because as far as I'm concerned, that B-25 is the best airplane that ever flew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went to medium bombers in the B-25.
Was it the B-25 what Jimmy Doolittle used? Jimmy Doolittle on the Tokyo raid? Did he? Jimmy Doolittle, you remember that name? The B-25 off of the carrier?
At one time.
Yeah.
At one time there was at Springfield, and maybe a coincidence. Now this is a long time ago, where they had one B-25.
Yeah. I've seen it. They had a twin tail, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. See, we only had two twin-tailed planes at that time, and with the P-30. And this one was a fighter plane,
Yeah.
the P-38.
Yeah.
It just come and gone for some reason, I don't know why, but we had them for escort for a little bit, and then the B-25,
Yeah.
the twin fin, we call them twin fin and rudders.
Twin fin and rudders. What was the heavy bomber then? That B-29?
Well, no, the B-29 hadn't.
It wasn't invented yet?
Hadn't hit the picture yet.
Okay.
The B-17, which I was trained in the B-17, and the B-24.
Okay.
The B-17 was the old Flying Fortress.
Yes, I know.
And the B-24 was I can't think of what they call it now. But anyway, actually, the Air Force, and it wasn't the Air Force either, it was the Air Corps. Was the B-24, the B-17, the two heavy bombers. The medium bombers was the B-25 and the B-26. And the B-25 was twin fin and rudders. The B-26 just had a single fin and rudder. And but the two, the B-25 was the best plane. Seemed like that, and as a matter of fact, it bunked with guys that flew in the 26 too. But it seemed like they were awkward. It seemed like they didn't have the maneuverability.
Yeah.
But again, like I said a while ago, they used that B-25 as a fighter plane. And
Wow.
I know there's a lot of times that you look down and you almost see them leaves rustling on top of them trees. And we flew escort, like I say again, for our 5th Army and the first and 7th, and then for the English 8th Army.
Well, Lowell, I think we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to thank you very, very much. To me, you're a hero. One of the few heroes left that fought one of the greatest wars this country ever went through. You're a true hero to me, and I think Brenda also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, well, up there, you know, my brother Bill, and I got his picture around here too. Yeah. He was, of course, he was in the thick of it, and he was in the Pacific.
Okay.
Bill was.
He was with the MacArthur group, huh?
And anyway, and of course, actually, you only had the two, and of course, what we call the Fifth Army, and I don't know what, but they was in the First Army. I don't know what army he was in, but I do know that he had it.
Yeah.
He had it, old Bill did.
I would love to interview him too if he would let us.
He would, of course, he's that way. And all the time, he and I were like, he was next under me. He and I were like twins.
Yeah.
And, but all of our time that Bill and I spent together, we fished, we hunted, we done everything together. And either one of us would ever say a word, never discuss where we'd been and what had taken place.
What date is when's your birthday?
August the 10th,
August the 10th, what year?
1924.
1924. August the 10th, 1924.
94 years young.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate this. And I'm going to get some pictures of your stuff here too.
Well, I'm going to take you in here.
Okay. Well, just a minute. Okay. Thank you.